Lincoln Riley, Oklahoma Sooners head football coach, tweeted a picture of his Easter brisket. And as you might imagine, it didn't end well. Lincoln Riley's a good coach. Oklahoma's a good football team. But anytime we bring up the news of somebody in sports posting a food picture, it's not for good reason. We certainly wouldn't dedicate a segment to Lincoln Riley's roast looked really moist. Lincoln Riley's roast looked really delicious. I'm sure it was a wonderful dinner for the Riley clan. Let's spend some time on how moist and delicious his brisket looked. Nope. Little opposite. Lincoln Riley posted a picture that said Happy Easter, 2 exclamation points. And this brisket looks burned, dried out. You know, when you drive through the Bronx, you see all these husks of old buildings that were burned out in the 70s. They have like this charcoal charred exterior, and they've got nothing on the inside. Downtown Detroit has many of these buildings as well. That's what his brisket looked like. It's really charred on the outside and looks dead on the inside. And I am reminded, Mraz, of the scene in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, where Clark brings that turkey to the dinner table, and everybody is getting ready. Cousin Eddie is looking on feverishly, and he pokes that knife into the bird, and it just like pops. And Cousin Eddie's wife starts crying. And Cousin Eddie's like, save the neck for me, Clark. And they all start trying to eat it. And it's so dry. And they're like pouring tons of gravy on it. And Clark is getting it like caught in his teeth. That's what eating this brisket reminds me of. Something that's really, really dry and is making everybody around the table like really have to work for it.
Oh, and the chewing and all of that. But the only thing I'll say about Lincoln Riley or DA, you have to realize, maybe I'm the wrong guy to ask. You're the smoker. I'm not. There is a lot of moisture if you really zoomed in on that cutting board underneath. So there has to be some moisture to it. And there's a whole tray of juice in the upper left-hand corner. So I don't know. Look, I get it. This doesn't look like the best barbecued brisket you'd ever have in your life. But I think it's probably getting slightly unfair dryness rep here. Where's that moisture on the board coming from if there's no moisture in it?
I've eaten a lot of brisket over my time. I've been to a lot of elite barbecue joints. I've been to a lot of mediocre barbecue joints. If this was the brisket they handed me, I'd immediately just toss it in the garbage. I wouldn't even send it back.
Come on.
I wouldn't even send it back because I wouldn't want to know what else they make. I'd just be like, okay. Not going to eat here. This goes in the garbage, and I'll go eat at Whataburger down the street. I mean, this looks awful. You're right. It does look like the cutting board is wet. It does look like in the upper left-hand corner there is some type of aluminum pan worth of juice. The brisket, look at the outside of that brisket. It is so dry and brown. And then on the inside, it needs to look moist and tender. And it doesn't. It looks dried out and hollow. It looks awful. It really looks awful.
Again, it gives you, everybody's going dry and tender. It gives you a little bit of that stringy look, though. I mean, that has to fall apart a little bit. Maybe I'm clinging on to something because I like Lincoln Riley, and I really feel bad when people get totally abused for bad food pictures. But he's also not a restaurant you're paying to go to. Now, the point is, should he be posting this to say, ooh, look what I'm eating? Or should he have just kept quiet and enjoyed the brisket even if he likes it this way? That's a different story. But I don't know. I feel bad for him here. I think because he's Lincoln Riley, because it's not the greatest looking brisket in the world, it's going to get over-analyzed like we're doing. But I don't think that is the worst brisket in the world. I do think that's edible there, and I do think the moisture exists some way because of the wetness on the board. I really do. I'm clinging on to something here for Lincoln.
My 2 favorite comments under this, because the comments are just the best. One guy tweeted, "This dude loves football so much he eats it for dinner." And another guy tweeted, if you drop your phone in water, you could put it in a bag with this brisket to dry it out.
I like the good one. Beating K-State and keeping brisket moist. Two things Lincoln Riley really struggles with.
My other question is, how huge is this cutting board? That's the one thing. This brisket is like two briskets side by side, unless the perspective's all off, but I don't think it is. I think that's a massive cutting board with two huge pieces of brisket, both of which look terrible.
It's definitely a huge cutting board because you can tell there's another one of those. We all see the half tray foil pans in front of it, and just the width of that cutting board is maybe 3/4 of the size of one of those pans, and then it goes double that long. That is an enormous cutting board. That would be quite the holiday gift for you with all the smoking you do.
Oh, I tried a brisket once, and it is so hard. So I'm not going to kill the cook too badly if this was smoked. I'm not sure. But it's really hard. It takes elite pit master skill to do the brisket. But, I mean, even mine didn't turn out great. It was edible, but it didn't look like a charred bag of leaves like this one does. I mean,
Are you saying you're a better smoker than Lincoln Riley?
I don't think Lincoln Riley did this. I think somebody in his family did it, and he was like, yeah, yum, let me put this on Twitter. People are going to love this. And he was like, oh, this is not what a good brisket looks like. Uh-oh. I mean, Bogues, you like barbecue. Would you ever eat this?
I might take one bite. I think the second bite really is the key here, right? Because you got to at least be a gentleman and nice and try it with as much skepticism as possible. But then finding your way away from it then is really the issue.
This is Lincoln's log.
Oh, makes it look so much worse. Oh.